Hey, good morning, Patriots. We're back. It's like day 2 of the week, Tuesday. Tuesday is a good day. Welcome, everyone. It's good to see you all here. And I'm trying to get into the live chat myself because I have to jump in like everybody else.
Yeah, stupid cash.
Here's Chris. Chris Cordani, the man who taught Ed McMahon everything he knows, plus never ended up in Malibu drunk on the beach. So there you go, Chris.
Not always. No.
To the show.
You set a good example for me, Tony. That's why.
That's right. So speaking of good examples, I'm wearing today one of the Sea of Mud great shirts. Fight. That's, by the way, I'm wearing this because it's a month ago today that President Trump was nearly shot by the deep state. I'm just going to say it. I'm not going to school it. I'm just screwing around. I was like, there was a plot. It wasn't just that kid, an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old kid with some level of shooting skills did not just decide one day to wander around a controlled area for 2 hours, Chris? He just kind of meandered around and made sure that he was seen looking at things.
Yep. I mean, they all saw him.
So there's something more there. But anyway, no. So one of the things that I've been asked to talk about. Go ahead, Chris. If you want to say something, go ahead.
No. There was some. I thought you froze for a minute, so it's all good. I was just jumping in. but I did want to add.
So anyway, what I was about to say,
banned, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, the mainstream wants to ban it. But anyway, what I was going to say is that a lot of folks are very curious about questions which have not been resolved. One of the questions is, who exactly was that kid communicating with via those secure apps on his phone? That's not been resolved, right? I mean, that's still a mystery. And then also, exactly who was in charge? Do we know even who the senior Secret Service agent was? No, we've not been told. Although I think the information's out there, and Bongino and others they know who he is, but they haven't put it out yet. He or she.
Right.
But I suspect
the holster problem either.
No, she's back out with JD Vance, so I guess she's got a holster problem with him. So that's like, okay, well, let's give him to the vice president candidate. There you go. And so I think there's some real big issues that have not been resolved. Anyway, for those who follow us, because I've got this question, yes, we all will continue to ask the hard questions. No, we're not going to let it fall away. The mainstream media wants it to go away, but we're going to fight, right, Chris? We're going to fight.
We're going to keep it going. That's right.
Yeah,
and you're going to wear that.
We're not going to
no matter where it's banned either. So there we go.
That's right. So So, but speaking of banned, what did you want to cover first? Oh, there's Karen. Karen's not banned.
Hey, what's
Good morning,
up?
Karen.
Good morning, Patriots.
Good morning.
Yeah.
How are
I wanted Karen for that banned thing too, because you know what? Maybe you'll be banned too soon, Karen. If you wear that shirt that Tony is wearing, you won't be allowed in certain news outlets because it shows it's too positive for Trump.
I've been banned before. It wouldn't be the first time. I'm kind of used to it at this point. A lot of us are. It is what it is. It goes along with the territory. You got to fight.
Exactly.
He thought those were his last words, Tony. Chris.
Yeah.
I think about this, and it just goes round and round in my mind. It was such an act of God that he's alive. And it's like, we've talked about in the show before. It's almost like we jumped this timeline. We're in this new spiritual realm where things could be way more positive, but you got to think about what's next, what's up their sleeve next. None of this is resolved. Whatever happened to the cocaine in the White House? Can we talk about that?
Can I just I just want to take you back for one thing. It may be we could consider it an act of God that Donald Trump survived. I'm going to take a different angle, and I want to get your thoughts on this. This is truly an act of Satan, because what happened was Trump may have survived, but a man died. An innocent man died when an agent of Satan shot at Donald Trump. He killed an innocent person. I believe it was meant to kill the innocent person.
I don't
it's a way to look at it, but I agree. I hate to say that I do, but I think it is an act of Satan when somebody takes somebody else's life intentionally. Murder is, satanic. I agree, Chris.
Right.
Yeah. So, fortunately, Satan herself, Nancy Pelosi, was not there. But I still think it was done in her name. I do grant you that.
If it was done in her name, they'd be throwing hammers. That's
well, hammers and sickles. Hammers and sickles.
That's
Hammers
true.
and
Where
sickles.
is David? Whatever happened to the friend David? Did we ever resolve? Was he a friend? Did we get answers on that? Speaking of no answers, nothing has answers, Tony.
Yeah, he's the Green Party pal of the Pelosi's. He actually was, yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
And now to blow chunks today. Here you go.
Well, I think he was more than a friend. It's like,
Yeah.
oh man.
I think we have a Robert Crane situation with the.
Does she have
Mr.
like
Pelosi.
radium put in her teeth to get that glow? I mean, does she like go and it's like have like nuclear remains from a power plant put into her teeth?
Vodka flavored Sensodyne.
That's good. So I keep asking. By the way, Karen, I don't know if you know this, but when I bring celebrities on, I always ask them, "Do you know what vodka ice cream tastes like?" And it's like, no, I don't. Well, Nancy does, so I'm sure she's got a freezer full of it. So, vodka. That's right. The answer to all things Nancy Pelosi, vodka.
I mean, that photo, that's not even a photo. That's like a caricature. It's like an art, like rendering of her. It's like a painting. I mean, that's so airbrushed. It's out of control. Like, she doesn't actually look like that. We've seen her. She has, a different look, let's say.
I'll give you her look. It looks more like this. Right here, come on, well, a little slower on the draw there, but that's more Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah,
see, that's the real Nancy. And if you look real close, Chris, you can just see like just over her shoulder to the right, one of the wings of one of her flying monkeys. You see it's kind of outlined there.
Oh, that's a good point.
So,
or maybe
she's got flying monkeys that kind of back her up.
Yeah, right here. And this is where she was trying to give that friend of theirs said, use this instead of the hammer. So that's a different story.
I could swear that was when she was talking to Joe Biden. It's like, hey, Joe, you got to step down. Really? Why? So,
yeah, I think, she just looks so angry. She has a whole like Wicked Witch of the West thing going on. Like that's
That's what I said. Flying monkeys.
She gives out. Totally flying monkeys. Like I'm with you all the way on that one.
So anyway, Chris, before we get into it, so I guess, Karen, I did ask, and I hope you can do it. Speaking of good things, can you do Jesus Calling for us this morning?
Yeah,
because
on the heels of that, of course. Yeah,
I think the Patriots need to hear some hope and hope and change. No, I don't want to say hope and change. Some hope.
You can rebrand it. They take our stuff and use it. Like, look, tax on tips. You just repurpose it.
Even though she's saying
stop. I want to cover that real quick because Karen, when Trump said it, it was, oh my God, they're going to take money out of taxes. We can't do it. Oh, it's all terrible. And then 2 days later, Kamala Harris says, oh, it's wonderful. We love it. We love it. We love it. It's like the talk about the hypocrisy and deep state control. The media went literally 180 on that concept. When Trump said it to she said it, and it's all out there. It's like, how do you guys live with yourselves? Which I guess they don't have God, but we do. So that's why, we have Jesus.
We definitely do. So I'm going to go ahead on that and read Jesus Calling today. Learn to enjoy life more is the message today. Relax that I am God with you. I crafted you with the enormous capacity to know me and enjoy my presence. When people wear sour faces and walk through their lives, I am displeased. When you walk through the day with a childlike delight, savoring every blessing and proclaiming your trust in me, my ever-present shepherd, your focus on my presence is with you. And this you can more fully enjoy your life. Glorify me through your pleasure in me, thus proclaim my presence in the watching world. Good stuff. Good stuff. And then Matthew 1-2-3 is the reading today, if anybody wants to follow up on it after the show.
Great.
Easy
Thank you, Karen.
It's like his password. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that's right. It was an easy one. God gave us an easy one today.
So here's something for you, Tony. And I know we were going to go this right before I put Karen on, and I want to pull this up again. The poster children for a Kamala Harris event. I got to say, this is actually really funny. And I don't know if you've seen this yet. This is a young millennial.
I have not seen this. This is new to me.
Yeah, this is Tenet Media. Is like a younger group of kids that do man in the street stuff and conservative frontline news. Kind of neat stuff. They came across. We don't. You ask yourself, why do people vote for Kamala Harris? Apparently, these are. Well, you know what? before I even say anything, listen to what these two say and tell me they're not the poster children for Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
And the base. Oh, here we go.
Well, you know, Al Qaeda's.
I don't want to lose my rights. Like, I'm a trans man and I'm gay and I have been pregnant and I've had an abortion before and I don't want to lose that. I'm afraid of not being able to be myself anymore because from what I've heard, Trump's America doesn't want me to look like this. So that's why I'm here today and that's why I'm voting blue.
What about you?
I've also been pregnant and had an abortion before. I was a minor and it would have been dangerous for me to properly, like, it would have been dangerous for me to carry a baby with, like, personal reasons and everything. I also, like, I'm very, you know, alternative, and I feel like if Trump were to win, I wouldn't be able to, like, express myself through my looks and everything, and wouldn't be able to have the piercings or the dyed hair or the tattoos that I want. You know, I would be able to be myself, and my dad's very pro-Trump, and I'm just very
Pro-Kamala.
pro-Kamala. Yeah, I don't, you know, it's just,
Does that cause a divide at all?
yeah, it definitely does. He thinks that Kamala's going to ruin the country, but I think that Trump would do worse, like, a lot. Like, Kamala is going to be good for the country.
Well, first off, she's so random, isn't she? LOL, she is so random.
Wow.
Wow.
So, let me set it up. Hey, welcome, Dr. Corsi. I want Jerry to jump into this, but let me set this up for a second and remind people: Donald Trump doesn't care what the hell you look like. I mean, I know the man. He's a New Yorker, for God's sake. He supported transgender issues long before anybody else did. So he could care less.
One, yes, the first.
Yeah, it's like,
first candidate.
If you want to be a freak, be a freak. Who cares? You know. Yep. But it's not about. So that is a MacGuffin, to use a term, a movie term. It's like that doesn't really exist. That's just a throwaway. Secondly, I mean, I'll be blunt. I used to, you know, I'm a spy. I'm a retired spy. I used to fly in off missions and one of the places I'd fly back from the Far East. And by the way, if people want to read about my adventures, we can't talk about specific adventures. They can read the last line, because we had to take things I did in the Far East and put it in a fictional way, just saying. Anyway, when I came back from missions, one of the places I'd chill is Minneapolis. I come back and hang out with my lesbian friends at Cafe Weird in Uptown and watch women. And you know, I'm a Trump guy, and you know, I like hanging out with lesbians because they like what I do. So so what the hell's wrong with that? I'm not joking. Yeah. It's like, of course. So what?
That
so I'm
be the
just
best
saying.
Line on this show of all time, Tony. I just want that was like a mic drop moment here.
I'm just saying.
I just want to take a moment for the chat to build on that one.
I'm just saying. It's
good.
Like, nobody cares about what you look like. Nobody cares.
Yeah, exactly.
Go look.
And
Nobody cares.
Right. If you go to the mall or Hot Topic or something like that, very commercialized, and pick
cares.
up these so-called alternative clothes. No, you're not so random or so alternative.
Nobody cares.
Mainstream. Yeah.
So, but this is the thing. The left creates this MacGuffin, this canard, this straw man. I guess I can use straw man here. But, you know. The straw man we're talking about looks a lot like Tim Walz, just saying, you know, not that there's anything wrong with that. By the way, has anybody noticed he's got Tinkerbell energy on stage? Like all that, wee. I mean, that guy could be like in the remake of Peter Pan, for God's sake. Anyway, I digress. But my point being is that nobody cares. Trump would care less about if you look like Marilyn Manson or Liberace. Well, that's kind of redundant. Sorry, I meant. Anyway.
I'm reading the chat. I'm just reading the chat over here. Sean Lucas, I hear you. Not all of us. Tony might be. Chris might be. If you guys want to know, I don't even want to repeat it, but basically Sean Lucas's comment was, we're all lesbians, because I think you spoke up for the majority of men when you said you like to hang out with lesbians because you like things.
It's true.
Every heterosexual man in our chat right now is going crazy. They're like, we're with you. We are with you. So speak for yourselves. We're not all lesbians, okay?
My inner female is a lesbian. That's number one. Number two, Deborah Lynn caught something in that video that was very interesting. The woman said she had an abortion, but called a baby. Now, I believe liberals aren't and leftists aren't allowed to call them babies. They're supposed to
No.
call them
No, they're
fetuses
not.
at this point. So that's not a very good Kamala Harris loving liberal. So anyway,
So no, Karen. I mean, what do you make of that? Because that's the thing too. And I want Jerry to jump in next. But
I
like
want
this whole
Jerry to
idea
jump
that you
in too.
yeah, me too.
the idea that you can't speak honestly about the fact the fetus is a baby. I mean, it's like
Oh.
just speak the truth about that.
The
You know?
Peterson-
I don't understand.
Remember the
You
Peterson
know,
murder? Remember the Peterson murder back in
Yes,
California?
thank you, Chris. A
Lefty
great
activists,
reference.
lefty activists were screeching to the news media saying, "You can't call that a baby. You have to call it a fetus," and that's the
Yeah.
truth.
Yeah,
Yep.
I got to comment though.
California.
Thanks, Jerry. Yeah.
I got to comment. I mean, what we got to realize, Tony, is that yeah, lesbians like what you like, but they want it all for themselves.
There we go.
That's true.
And number two, the lesbians, you're like a cat at a dog. You're like a dog at a cat show. I mean, they're happy to have you around, but they're not real sure why you're there.
Well, I enjoyed hanging out. My point, part of my point,
dogs
Jerry,
can
is
get
the
into
old
all
days-
kinds of things too. You know, dogs are.
Well, that's my point. In the old days, you could dogs and cats could hang around and not get in fights. Now we fight constantly.
Yeah, well, you know, but it's what just because they all like what you like doesn't mean they want you to participate. That's the key thing.
Oh, wow.
You'd be surprised, Jerry. You'd be surprised. You haven't,
Sounds
you
like a
haven't
Stan
read.
Kinison routine
Yeah,
waiting to
yeah,
happen.
Yeah, you
Like-
haven't read. You haven't read the last line, have you?
I am so glad that he jumped in. Thank you, Jerry, because I knew the whole time you were sitting there turning red, and I said to myself, he has something to add, and that was stellar.
Let's
I was
get
like
this
thinking,
straight. I mean, this is not a joke. These people, you know, they understand who men are. They don't want them. If they
Yeah,
do,
that's true.
they do. They're
Well, that's
bisexual. They're lesbian. You know, you're just unwanted.
Well,
You're an intruder.
Yeah.
we're the wing
Yeah.
person for their straight friend. They always have a token straight friend. So when you go and hit on broads together, you know, there's always some kind of babe or dame with. I think we can still say dame, right?
Well, besides the fact, most
I
men.
think so.
I think that's okay.
Let's deal with another issue. Most men aren't prepared to deal with where the real lesbians are. I mean, did you take a look at that woman with her fingernails and all the rest? You want to enter that reality? I don't think so. Reality. There's some strange things going on in that reality. You're not prepared to understand as a man.
But Jerry,
I'm sorry.
that's part of the point. I think that they make in that clip is that they do live in an alternate reality. Because as much as I think people, my point is, we accept them. It's like you want to
Well,
be that,
right.
that you want to
Well,
be that
but-
crazy, be that crazy. But
Yes.
nobody's coming after you.
It used to be considered psychotic, okay, or schizophrenic, which it truly
Oh,
is. okay?
I'm not disagreeing with you.
I
I'm
want to
just
live
saying
my
that
life. I want to be myself, and then you have to accept myself. Yeah, well, you know, because
exactly.
you think you're a
Exactly.
female turtle who lived in Cleopatra's era. I'm sorry, you got problems, and good luck with that. You know.
So did you know that we are
please.
considered?
I want to make one point.
Yeah.
The point
Yeah,
is
please.
that once we enter this reality that these people want to create, we've entered, you know, a schizophrenic reality. We've let we're now letting the inmates run the asylum. They let them dictate what's reality to us. So from a perspective, you get a group. Weimar Republic did the same thing. I mean, half the Gestapo, you know, half the SA were in these homosexual clubs spending their
Oh yeah,
nights.
Hitler took him out one night.
Yeah, I mean,
Night of the
yeah.
long knives.
Yeah, he finally decided he had enough of them. Of course, Hitler himself is marginally, you know, gay.
Oh my goodness, dude. No, he
Yeah.
was worse than gay, Jerry. He
You
was
what?
into some really, really awful stuff.
His Austrian
I can't
years-
even say.
Well,
I
there's
can't even see here on Rumble.
books written about his
Yeah.
Austrian years, and there's books. yet to
I
be-
cannot. Yeah, it's like worse than Gavin Newsom style.
Okay,
stuff.
so you get into these realities. What these people produce is they produce psychotic realities as normal, and so suddenly we're dealing with the Nazis as if these people were normal, running around deciding we got to kill Jews. I mean, okay, let's kill a few. You want to kill a few Jews? Go kill a few. Make a big deal out of it. If you want to kill all the Jews, they're going to run away. It's hard. We're going to spend a lot of resources killing Jews. Why don't we kill 10, say we accomplished the job and move on? Because we got to kill the Russians. So the Russians aren't going to be thrilled that we're over there killing all their peasants. So, you know, these are insane people.
Yeah.
They do insane things.
They
And that's-
are, you know. Tony, if you don't mind, I just want to add James, my father escaped Nazi occupation in Austria, and so did my mom, and they were kids. This is very real. Isn't it crazy that it's only one generation away, Dr. Corsi? Like, can you believe that?
Well, look, I was watching some of the European festivals with some of they had one in Austria. Austria is, if you've ever been to Vienna, it's a beautiful place, but
Oh yeah,
but they also went completely Nazi and killed all the Jews in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so these people, for all their culture, for all their music, my father once said to me, "You won't understand Mahler until you're older," and he was right. Now Mahler's got the tremendous angst that was going on before the Nazis took over, and this is insanity. This is psychotic. This is getting a neurotic, homosexual, borderline personality, Hitler, to run an entire culture, and so therefore you get so you get Obama, the Catholic Church, LGBT. We got to celebrate these people. We're going down the wrong road.
Right.
Well, that's where they shouldn't be celebrated, but the idea that their side ramps it up to the point of where they believe that Trump is somehow going to put them in prison and lock them up. And the opposite's true. I think they want to get help. And the other thing, Jerry, let me ask you this, and Karen too. Where are their parents? I mean,
Right.
I think the parents have a lot of impact. You have the Hunter Biden example, or the Malia Obama example, versus the President Trump's son, Barron. Barron and his sons have all turned out, I think, very well, and yet you've got these other folks who, I think the left, there's something wrong with the kids on the left, right?
Well,
I mean, that's kind of where it comes down to, right?
I go back to another issue on that. There's always been, in a certain age in adolescence, and the rebellious period is going to hit for most people at some point or other.
Oh, of course, always. My son's going through it now. Trust me, I get it.
I mean, it's part of human nature. You're going to leave your parents.
Happening.
You're going to find somebody to be married to. It's a traumatic. You've spent your entire life here with these people, and suddenly you're rejecting them. Okay, so there's a transformation that's going to go on. We see it every generation, whether it's the Bohemians in the 50s or the anti-war culture and Woodstock in the 60s. Every generation's had it. But what happens is people mature out of it. I mean, I'm walking around today. I went to a baseball game yesterday. I'm in Cleveland. I went to the baseball game last night. And, half the guy sitting next to me said, "I'm 70 years old." We're talking about the 50s. Now, this is a guy who spent 30 years with the FAA. I'm sure he went through a rebellious period of time, but doesn't last.
No, of course.
And they reject it eventually. Eventually they say, at 18 or 19 with the long fingernails and she's rebellious, it's got a certain kind of appeal. When she's that way at 78, she's still got the long fingernails. She's just weird.
Right.
And there's
I get it.
Sympathy.
No,
but
Jerry,
when they're all weird. What I'm concerned about, Jerry and Tony, is when they're all weird, where are we going to be? Because it's way worse. And I think, you look at these kids now and you think, who are their parents? And she's like, my parents are a Trump supporter. And I'm like, I feel really bad for this guy. Like, that's sad.
But I don't think they represent all kids, because as much as my son's going through his rebellious, he's not that bad. And my oldest son is 30 now, became a fireman and medic. He's an Eagle Scout. I mean, I love that kid. Anyway, and like we all go through it, Karen. I don't know, Chris, you went through. I mean, I admit I had a rebellious period that lasted from when I was about 15 till I was about 60, 61. Kind of past it now a little bit, but a little bit. But my point being is that we all do that, Jerry. But the problem is how they come out of it.
Well,
which direction do they
go? The other thing is the celebration of it, because the media, even in the 60s, picked it up. In the 50s, they picked it up. It's news. It's entertaining. It stretches people. It's kind of culturally advancing in certain ways, but it can be very destructive. And the problem is that it needs to be contained. And for most people who are sane, there comes a rejection of it within a relatively short period of time.
Yeah,
and the fundamentals take over, which is you do find somebody. If the normal processes are allowed, you end up finding somebody, marrying, and having children. Once you got children, you got a responsibility. Everything changes with children. I mean, God's plan is to mature an adult.
All right, I agree with you, but
most of the time,
God speaks to us through other people. He does,
right.
And so one of the things I had an hour drive this morning, and I had some time to think. And during that time, I was looking back. I was actually thinking about this very topic. How did I come through my rebellious time with skills? And so it was through mentors, friends and mentors. Some of my bosses, Jerry, I actually talked to Bill DePriest recently, General Retired Bill DePriest. And Bill was a lieutenant colonel when I was lieutenant. And I pulled some really stupid stuff. I mean, I was a knucklehead. And I asked Bill, I said, how did you know not to fire me, that I would become something? He says, Tony, I saw your potential and I gave you tasks and jobs which helped shape you. So not only did I come through with, I think, some viable skills, people helped mentor me. Jerry, where are mentors today? Because I think so many kids don't have good mentors that can help direct them in the right direction. And I credit my mentors for making me who I am, better for better or for worse.
He's 15 just said that in the chat.
There's also another aspect to it, and that is we're lucky in our worst catastrophes, we didn't end up killing or maiming ourselves permanently. In other words,
exactly.
It's just where we really did stupid things, we managed to survive. Okay, now there's got to be a gift of God there that we're pulled through these things, because I'd say about every one of us has done something or other in their life that we should have suffered dire consequences for, except just didn't happen to do it.
Right.
What we did was stupid. Now we came down to realize, with the grace of God, that was stupid, and we probably ought not to do that again. Okay, that's the beginning of not being stupid anymore. And the fact is that, it takes a maturing, but it's not meant to be easy. Now, but the problem is today, the point I'm making is that when these alternatives begin to embrace an evil culture, when they begin to embrace Satanism, or they begin to get into Nazism, or they begin to get into genocide, when they go down that path, now we got a satanic element to it, which is now extremely dangerous, because Satan will blackmail these people and compromise these people, and they won't recover.
I get it. So that's why I want to hit Ron real quick. So Karen, you had merit. You have done and won things because of merit. You've worked your butt off. Well, you still have a butt, but you didn't lose it, but you know what I mean. And Chris, the same thing. Chris still has a butt too, and he worked it off almost, but it came back. So my point being, Jerry, is that and I want you all to comment on this, is that, and by the way, so I went through, and I mentioned my mentors. I went through officer candidate school at 19, was youngest. I came through and did things. I have a military record. I could go and show people that I was retired lieutenant colonel. The left doesn't seek merit; they seek the potentiality of image as that. Like we're talking about Tim Walz. Tim Walz, who clearly was easily provable that he has no merit. He basically lied, manipulated, or otherwise scammed his way through. Well, I think Mr. Carlson even has more personality than Tim. But
they remind me of each other.
Yeah, well, the point is the same. He's kind of a flim-flam man. So first with you, Karen, how do we then take, because our side always says, well, Walz is corrupt, but they love corruption. How do we overcome the fact that our side recognizes merit and their side loves corruption? How do we deal with that?
I hate that my answer to you is I don't know, because truly I don't know, because I am at the point, as so many of us are, where we see the corruption for what it is. We see the deep state for what it is. Look at the Elon Trump interview last night. The fact that hackers were able to bring that down. The fact that really behind the scenes, who's in control? Why isn't anybody talking about China? We have all this focus on Iran right now. Who's in their back pocket? It's China. Where is the focus on that? You're an international policy guy, Tony. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
We're in a position right now where our country has been taken over by dark forces, satanic maybe, if you want to call it that. Chris went there earlier in the show. And we are now in this process of fighting good versus evil. It comes down to very simple facts. And Can Donald Trump win in the face of such corruption? I certainly pray to God every day that he can. But I can no longer tell you with complete certainty that I think we have this thing in the bag, because I think that China and the people that are at the helm at the World Economic Forum and the people that truly drive the corporate train that is America, they're in control with a totally different agenda than one is with the American people. And these are the party of that. I mean, there it is. You got the face of it right there in Waltz. You got the face of it in all of their puppets, their cast members, their actors.
What Karen is saying is correct. I mean, I'm in Cleveland, Ohio right now, and we found the algorithms in the state board of election voter registration rolls, which permit the Democrats to essentially steal the election without being known. And they're planning to use this again. Now, in the next 60 days, we're going to make this a big issue across the country. The Democrats are confident they're going to win because they've already run the election. They've already run their computers. They know how they're going to win. And it's being set up. What they're saying is, okay, so we got rid of Biden because his poll numbers were so desperate we couldn't steal. Now we got Kamala, and we're going to gaslight Kamala. So she got polls beating Trump. Look at her big crowds.
Exactly.
And so once they can create the image that anybody would care about this stupid woman, who nobody's voted for yet in this election.
Exactly. Not a vote.
Not a single vote.
Not a vote.
They can make her president. I mean, their second choice was going to be to take a dead guy and make him president and have AI activate him. Well, they rejected that one because the AI is a little bit defective yet. But pretty soon they'll do that. Okay, they'll have two AI guys and they'll be the president and vice president, and nobody will have voted for them, but the machines will elect them. That's where they're headed. Yeah. Now, we're going to expose this, and I've got the goods on them. A number of us have organized to do it. And the next 60 days, I'll probably be on the road for 60 days here getting this done. But we're going to make it clear to America that the steal is on. Now, we're not saying anybody committed any voter fraud, but if you come to this website, if you go to God's Five Stones, GODS, no apostrophe, spelled FIVESTONES, you're going to see how these algorithms are put into the voter register. This is done at the Board of Election. And the Board of Elections are unaware of it. In fact, it took this Andrew Paquette, who's a computer genius, a computer graphics guy, to figure it out. And it's a code. You can't take a voter registration database at the county, at the state Board of Election, and put a code into it. In other words, it looks like it's a legitimate, but it's not. It's coded. It's coded so you can create false votes and vote them and hide them. Now, once we expose this, we're going to get to the root of this. The root of this is not the Dominion machines. It's higher than that. This is a much more devious plan to be able to certify false votes. Yes.
So basically, Jerry, to help the audience understand, who have a basic understanding of
Tony, I need you to get in writing very quickly next week. I need you to get in writing your analysis of this, and we're
it's on my list. It's on my list of I got to get to. Yes,
good.
So anyway, but part of this, Jerry, is that for people who need to understand the technology. So basically, right now we're talking on computers. Computers have hardware. Hardware essentially is what we're all using. Either the phone or the computer is the hardware. What you're talking about is something stuck in the operating system of the computer. Basically, these things are hidden within the algorithms which actually run the system that is overarching of all the systems. Is that the way of good way of looking at it?
It's taking so you got a foreign army in the field and it can't communicate directly, so you communicate in code. Well, so you put a code into the voter base, so only you know how it really reads. Nobody else does. You don't have the code. And it all looks legit, but it isn't.
Yeah.
It's not doing what it looks like it's doing because it's performing secret operations that are only known to the code designers.
Yeah.
Okay. And that So all the other things we're seeing are artifacts of that. I'm going to
Yeah.
be going around the country and organizing all of the people who've been looking at the various irregularities. We're going to get this all organized sometime in September, probably here in Cleveland. I'm going to start doing a series of live streams. We do, a live stream all day long about this for a week, and tell the entire country how it's done, like a Jerry Lewis telethon. We're going to just have a marathon session to explain to the country how it's done. Okay, now we're not saying any election's stolen. We're not talking about the Kraken.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Why this stuff exists.
Well, my criticism always was that Sidney Powell went forward without having the evidence, and I understand what she was trying to do, but she really messed that up badly. So,
all of these guys. I mean, Mike Lindell did the same thing.
Yeah, I know. I was there.
You can't go after. Once an election's certified, you've got a very high threshold to say that this is illegitimate. And if you do, it sounds like you're challenging a legitimate election, which could be criminal. So I'm not challenging anything. I just want to know why this stuff exists. I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong.
Right.
I want to know, why is it here? Has it been used? I want investigation. And asking for investigations responsible. Calling people criminals is not responsible if you don't have the evidence.
Yeah. Good. All right. Well, hey, Jerry, we'll continue to track it. I do know it's on my list of things. I owe you this.
Well, it's really important. And your stuff, Tony, is going to be, you see, you are an expert in this. You understand this.
Yes.
That's
I do.
what qualifies you. And
I've done investigations, obviously, so everybody knows. So I appreciate the opportunity.
I'm not a cryptographer. I'm not a code writer. I understand it. But I don't have the credentials.
I understand it.
You've got the credentials. That's what makes all the difference in the world.
Trust me, we've done this before people knew that it could be done. So I get it. I get it completely. So, we'll continue to track.
Gentlemen.
Quick note.
Yeah, Dr. Corsi's book is it's today, right? It's available today. The Anti-Globalist Manifesto.
I'll probably be on Bannon tomorrow or the next day, but it just came out. Anti-Globalist Manifesto, Ending the War on Humanity. I think it's going to be in the bookstores. I'm going to have to go check.
Yeah.
See if they have it in the deep storage locker room downstairs next to the cats.
Yeah, Jerry, did you go in the back of the book? Did you go with the Nancy Pelosi or Che Guevara scratch and sniff section? I'm just kind of curious because Che Guevara and Nancy spell a lot different from each other.
Yeah. Well, I just did my portfolio of my favorite 50 LGBT. That's all. Okay, guys.
All right. Thanks, Jerry. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks. God bless.
You, Jerry.
Thanks. And so, and here we go. Paul Stone. Paul is joining us. Paul from Colonial Metals. Paul, welcome back to Wake Up Patriots.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you. So we're talking about all sorts of things which impact globally on markets. So we'll be jumping right into that. Before we start down that path, though, I think you've all recognized that there's a lot of tensions right now. Right now, these tensions are the things that you all need to be paying attention to because war starts, crisis happens. You need to have security for you and your family regarding finances. So that's why Paul is here. Paul actually offers through the Colonial Metals Group some amazing options relating to gold and silver. And I think that's something that you cannot go wrong with. So right now we've got the banner. We've also got the number 800-805-4034. You can call Paul and his team. They will not let you down. So Paul, welcome. Any thoughts initially here as we jump into the day regarding the chaos we're facing?
Well, I just think it is time, like the good doctor was bringing to our attention, a campaign perhaps behind the scenes to make sure that continuity of power remains.
Yeah.
It's time to take on a sense of urgency about what people can do. Waiting for November to throw your one vote down and hope things end up your way, to me just is quite limited. I think our problems are well beyond a vote. I think if we look back far enough, our problems might be because we voted.
Well,
thoughts on that?
Well,
the
issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, think of the choices we've had.
Who's we?
Yeah. Just saying, if you look at the choices we've had for options to represent us in Washington,
Oh, boy. Yeah.
I'm with you.
you look back over decades. Right. So,
Well, so
Yeah.
what you're saying, Paul, is basically both sides kind of may not be they may appear to be different, but they're maybe not all that different, right?
right. Because at the end of the day, government ineptitude is just that has no great track record of doing
Right.
well, of succeeding. So if you just compare the government to any business that's done well for a while, in the business, you own something. Each employee, each worker, each consultant, the owner, they all own something. They own their desk. They own
Right.
their product, right? They own thinking things through before they act. They own having to watch out for others. And when you look at the government, they don't own anything. They can't
Right.
be fired. They don't
take.
really have
They only take.
the ability to push and pull on levers. That's an actual job that truly improves life for some part of the country where they work. If you think of a central government, like the headquarters of a business was on the moon, it just wouldn't be in touch. By design, it wouldn't be really in touch very well with the ongoings of the business on the ground where the business is actually operating. And to me, this is why the framers thought we must have a very small central government because of its ineffective abilities to actually represent and execute on the needs of the people if it were to become too large. Let's break that central government into 50 governments so the states can do a great job of managing their own affairs.
Well, that's the thing. The Leviathan of federal government has subsumed and overwhelmed the concepts of the founding fathers. We have this massive, expensive federal bureaucracy, Paul, which does not care about you or me, ultimately. I think you would agree. Bureaucracies, after a certain point in their life, becomes focused only on self-sustainment, not on the purpose. And I think, and so that's what we're faced with here, right? I mean, that's what
that exactly. So we talk about, could an election be massaged? Was it 4 years ago? Will it be massaged this time? Things we can't control. It's great to throw illumination on this. It'd be great to have investigations, but what would the outcome of that be? My main message isn't about precious metals. It's about awareness. It's about people self-empowering their lives again, because there is something that we are talking about when we talk about people's savings or their finances. When we use those words, we're really talking about their personal resource, something that they can expend, especially retirees. That, there's a great saying, money allows you to do and say what you want with your time. And if you don't have any, you're in line for government cheese. So what really has this bureaucracy been after for a while now? Redistribution of wealth.
Exactly.
Redistribution of wealth. Finding ways to separate you from your hard-earned money. Why? Do we really even have to look at it too closely? We have to understand that it's happening. It's happening. Social engineering, when you engineer a bridge, you're going to take resources from the earth that need to be a certain strength and a certain length and connect correctly and, support the weight and deal with heavy winds. You're going to engineer a structure. Social engineering is trying to engineer something that doesn't stay put. Human beings don't stay put like a steel girder does, or concrete in the ground. So this attempt has always been a failure. The idea that we can flatten out the world and make it fair for everyone is a nice idea to shoot a democracy at, but you can't socially engineer that outcome. So the last attempt is that they just need all the money. They need all the money to do that. Continuity of power in the White House and kind of everybody's money to be able to execute on full-blown control over mankind.
And that's why they're fighting Trump so hard right now. And by the way, Paul, I don't know, did you get the memo? Bridges and roads are racist. Did you know that, according to the Secretary of Transportation?
That and meth.
I know. But to that point, so Kamala Harris has said on record, to Paul's point, that we need to establish equity because we don't start at the same place, and we all have to make sure people finish. I don't want to finish. No offense, Chris. I don't want to finish in the same place with you. Just kidding. Just saying.
No one.
God bless you.
I mean,
I like finishing where I'm at. But my point being is that first off, who is she or the government to determine what place any of us should be in? What gives them special power to determine that? Secondly, the only thing that socialists like her can guarantee is the lowest common denominator. What Paul just said is what they can do. When they take
Right.
the resource and say, "Oh, we're going to make everybody equal," they're not going to uplift you. They're not going to turn you into some rich guy on a yacht. They're going to turn you into some guy with a dinghy in some trailer. Little pink houses for you and me, right, Paul?
Oh,
Right.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean, I'm serious.
Well,
Yeah,
they started this
you're
with the
right.
education system. They started with the education system. Remember, equal
Yeah.
outcome
That's right,
education.
Chris.
The great
Exactly.
G. Gordon Liddy used to call this out on his radio show virtually every day in the 1990s. The establishment of the Department of Education was behind the whole thing. Equal outcome education. Now this is the result of that.
It's
And going
insane.
back to Tony, going back to what Paul was saying, but we're now here in the present, and it's done. What's done is done. Are we at the point where it's so far gone? Like there is no other option. Like the American economy is gone. It's done. It's stolen. It's killed. Go buy gold and silver. Are we at that point? Like right now, is it done, Paul?
yeah, this is what we're talking about. So in November, that's where maybe the last trap door closes, because then there's another 4 years of this authoritarian rule where decisions can be made. And I just want to point out a couple of examples where it didn't need congressional approval to do something drastic about your money. In 1933, our money was gold. Roosevelt made gold as money illegal, put you in jail if you held on to it. You had to turn it in and give it to the government. They gave you your $20 an ounce for it. But the point is to solve raising money to get us out of the Depression, which really World War II, succeeded doing. Their idea was to make your money illegal so they could print more money if they had more gold. In 71, Nixon just signed a piece of paper that said gold has nothing to do with the money anymore. To give you a little bit of clarity on how ridiculous that is, expressed by the maestro himself, Alan Greenspan, in 1967, as he's leaving college, he writes a thesis paper that says a financial world without gold is lunacy.
Yeah.
Lunacy. So fast forward
And
to
they
where
did
we
it
are
anyway.
today. This is the end game to me because the dollar's worth 3 cents. If you look at how much time the government has to print money and prop things up, 10 years ago, they had, about 10, 11, 12 years to scheme and plan and figure out how they were going to deliver on their goals. Those 10 years have passed. The dollar now is worth 3 cents. It seems to be losing about 2 pennies a year since the year 2000, which means next year it's worth barely a penny, half a penny.
Well, think about this, Paul. Within the last 3 years, I'm looking at this the inverse of the way they talk about it. Our money, the value of our money has dropped 20%, and because inflation is 20%. So you've lost, the income you have in money. So this is where you need to go talk to Paul about what he can do to help shore up and guarantee that there's some level of equity, physical equity, not social equity. Just saying,
Yeah, there we go.
Equity. Equity. What you can have regarding your family's portfolio. So that's what I'm saying. Not social equity, real equity, important equity, right, Paul?
Individual equity, correct.
Individual.
When you get on the plane, they tell you put the mask on yourself first.
Exactly.
You don't run around and make sure everyone else is good to go, and then you pass out and die.
Yep,
Hey, George
right?
Carlin said that too, right? Yep.
Yeah.
He did not need anybody to tell him to adjust his mask before his kids. He should learn self-reliance.
Now, could I
George
mention something
Carlin.
interesting?
Please, no, Paul, go ahead, please.
So while I was on a plane just a few days ago, I got a little bored, and I wrote about this in my most recent Substack. And so I was a little upset that the plane was, late for a couple reasons. We can just keep that clean. So I was thinking about maybe making a little complaint. I looked on the airline's app, and I didn't really see anything. And then I saw this thing that said carrier contract. So I clicked in there, and I'm scrolling through all these definitions, and I find, what's in pretty much every contract, the clause forces majeure, Latin for, if God ends the earth, we're not responsible, right? One of the terms, the reason this is interesting, and it's in my Substack, it called government regulation as a element of forces majeure. And it just clarified things for me even further than I already see things very clearly. The government is a destructive force that no one can control. Is that a reach?
Exactly.
Anyone feeling that?
Yeah.
So when we look at when we look at what we're against, I think we miss what we need to be for. We do need to be for ourselves. We need to put the oxygen mask on ourselves first.
So yeah, we can't be anarchists. So, right now our only hope is Donald Trump. We really have nobody else that can save this country. And it sounds like what you said before is, what just resonates with me again, which comes down to like, keep it simple, stupid. If we don't win the election in November, we're done. America is done. And it sounds like we were actually in that slippery slope to socialism when Roosevelt did all this. And when we took away the gold back standard, I mean, that was the day that socialism started to creep in. And now we're just on this like dramatic slide. This is nuts.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So when the Trump tax cuts expire, when they jam capital gains tax from 20%, where I've read that it is today, to 44.6%, when they look at currency change, when they look at all of the extremely tasty options that the socialists will have at will for their disposal if they maintain the White House for the next 4 years, it's a country-changing, constitution-destroying, personal individual freedom and financial resource taking machine that is just finally saying to itself, if we just, it's like a lot of people individually, they think, well, I'll be happy when, well, I'll be happy if, right? Happiness isn't a destination. But the government movement towards having all of the buttons and levers that they think they need to be able to push and pull to finally deliver a 100% successfully socially engineered fabric within the country is just they need to be able to control your money completely and then control man. If your money, your savings is located in their realm, then you fall subject to that and you're on a line for government cheese. If you've relocated your savings away from where these troubles would land, then you are somewhat immune and you still get to make choices about when you come out of gold and silver into government money, if that's what we're forced to continue to use. But it's on your time. It's when you want to, because gold and silver is a universal currency, if you will. And the reason it protects you is it isn't money today. If it were, we wouldn't have any of these problems.
Well, a little point, and by the way, fight. You got to fight for the financial future, as we talked about. But Paul, this is universal truth. Gold and silver have been valuable since the dawn of civilization, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, what you guys are saying that about? What you guys are telling me is I've learned something from both of you. I learned that this man may be the smartest man in television history.
Why? I love that.
Yukon Cornelius.
I love Rudolph.
Yeah, this is Yukon Cornelius. He was hell bent on mining for silver and gold because he knew a long time ago that both metals were going to be very valuable in the future and solid assets.
That's right. And didn't he also know that Nancy Pelosi came from the island of misfit toys? Didn't he talk about
yes.
Well, here she was practicing for the Olympics when she was younger.
Oh my!
Thank you very much.
Yes. So and see, Ed McMahon has nothing on you, Chris. I'm just telling you. Yeah.
Again, though, we always talk about money. The biggest thing I try to help folks with is to wake up to hearing, not a negative, just becoming aware of something they weren't conscious of before. That think of money as a resource. How many units of that resource do you have saved? Right. You burn through those if you're retired because you're not really adding much to the stored pool of money anymore. So if your hay is in the barn and there's a firestorm raging across the prairie headed for you, there's no data in history to show that the government can put that fire out. They're actually the ones causing the fire.
Exactly.
Then it should get to your barn.
Exactly.
You can't move the barn, but you can move the hay.
Right.
You've protected that resource that you draw off of. So again, if this election goes, a certain way, to me, all the conservative, and I wish we could change that term to realists in this country, are going to be exhausted from holding hope for very, very long. And they are going to call precious metals firms and they're going to finally move their money. And it will literally be I mean, I expect a massive rush that could put people at the end of a line of hundreds of thousands of people that want to finally execute on protecting their financial resources.
Exactly.
So I'm cautioning
yeah.
that now people just really start getting sober to the idea that the good doctor was making illumination on earlier, that perhaps this election isn't going to be a fair, counting of votes. You may not get the candidate you want, even if that candidate actually won. What can you do to defend your money? What can you do to make sure that you have an oxygen mask on yourself so you still have the ability to help others, rather than become victim to waiting for someone else to fix it for you?
Right. Well, don't believe in the hopey changey stuff, especially if the other side wins. So with that said, Paul, the thing that to me is so important, that what you said, is that the government is not your friend. I'm a Reagan guy, and Reagan said, the most frightening words in the English language is, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help you." And the government's not going to help you. I mean, it's insane, and it's worse now because, as you've outlined this correctly, from the time of FDR to Nixon. And by the way, FDR was a Democrat. Nixon was a Republican, but they both worked to undermine the value of gold, or having our currency based on gold, right? I mean, it's both sides that have done it. This is not universal to one side or the other. And I think that's why at this point you need to look at outside the government solutions. The solution in this case is indeed something that is tangible, has been around since the dawn of mankind, the dawn of civilization, something that holds its value. The pharaohs, for goodness sake, loved gold. They put it in the tombs. And obviously, if it was good enough for the pharaohs, it's good enough for us. It's probably better now because, hey, we're still alive and they're not. Remember that thing with Steve Martin, King Tut?
King Tut. Now, the first thing I was thinking of
Oh my God. I'm talking about really tough situations here, and you guys are taking it to a comedic bend. I just love it.
Well, if you can't,
but it helps people remember this, Paul. We want people to remember.
And...
Yeah. So, but my point being is that this has been around since the beginning of civilization, and there's a reason why. This is why gold has survived as a valued asset through every civilization on this planet, to include this one. Don't be counting on somehow the fiat currency created by our government is going to be that which sustains you in hard times. It's not. So as Paul's saying, there's options he can help all of us with, to make sure that we come through using that which will sustain itself beyond the government. And by the way, the government can't control it. No matter even if the government doesn't base currency on it, it doesn't matter. We're the ones who have to make the decisions which will benefit us. So, Paul, I think it's been great that we've gone through. I like the way we've been able to do these bite-sized history lessons that don't sound pedantic, but actually help inform people. I think that's important, right?
Yeah. Well, people they laugh at history. I laugh at myself sometimes as I'm mentioning it, but isn't a map history?
Yeah.
A map is documented history. It's where things are. It's historically where things have been located. You can't get anywhere without a map if you're getting there for the first time. We count on those all day long. We're trying to go somewhere. It's on our phone these days. History is a map. Humans wrote the history, especially the governments that wrote financial history. And all of my research shows that there is no deviation from the track record.
Exactly.
Countries come together. Something special happens once in a while for a specific country. They end up being the dominant financial player on the earth. The government that grew and grew and grew into disgusting abscess sizing eventually destroyed what the people had built, and another country gets reserve currency status.
Yep.
Well,
that's
where we're going. Our chat's been going crazy, Tony. The chat, they keep saying, China's buying up gold, and then after that, I want to
central banks. Central banks are
doing
this too. Yeah.
Go ahead,
Even the wise men gave baby Jesus gold. This is what Sinclair said. Even the wise men gave baby Jesus gold.
Exactly.
Like, I just think everything we're talking about, it comes back to God at the end of the show. I had to get that one out. Sorry.
And I'm glad
no, you're right, Karen.
They gave back.
And they gave Brian gold too.
Love that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karen.
So Blaine Holt and Blaine is another very devout man of God. General Holt and I talk about this all the time on Newsmax. right now, the international effort is not to militarily beat us. They can't. They
No.
want to devalue our economy and remove the dollar as the fiat currency. Right, Paul?
Yes, absolutely. That way,
That's what we have to be aware of.
yeah, right. If you make the chessboard, then you get to make the new rules, but you don't have to
That's right.
beat anyone, right? Because you've changed how the game's actually played. And if I could, with one quick analogy, because
Please, go ahead.
I love God as well, and I just think that socialism, the source of socialism, is selfishness, right? And so this is why I love this little analogy. So it's a great description of what life's like between hell and heaven. So this guy passes away and God gives him an option. He's like, well, you could go to hell, go check it out, see if you like it down there. And then if, you can come check out heaven and see what you want to choose. So he descends down to hell first. And he's amazed that everyone is sitting at this incredibly long dining room table with all of the most, incredible food, everything you could possibly want. Everyone is dressed incredibly well. The decoration is just mind-blowing, like being in some exotic castle in Europe. And everyone is screaming and wailing in agony. They're having to eat with spoons that are 6 feet long, and they can't get the food into their mouths. So he thinks that's strange. So he goes back to God, and God lets him into heaven. And he comes up and he's amazed. He sees the exact same situation. Everyone is seated and impeccably dressed with the most wonderful, incredible gourmet food in front of them at this endless dining room table. You can't see the ends to the right or the left. The decoration is just mind-blowing. And no one is crying. And no one's in any pain or agony. And they're still eating with spoons that are 6 feet long. The difference was they were feeding each other.
Ah,
interesting.
There you go.
Ooh.
Very well said. Very
That
well
was
said.
Good. I was waiting for the punchline there. That was a good one, Paul. You kept me hanging until the very end.
I like it.
I don't know if I was having
Yeah.
a blonde moment, if anybody else knew how that was going to end, but I was on the edge of my seat.
That's a great story. So,
That's great.
well, this is great. We've all been enlightened. And Paul, thank you. I'm saying this sincerely. I enjoy our conversations, and I appreciate you coming on to give us these great history lessons and examples of how to think about how to secure our families. So thank you for being here again. Paul is the CEO of Colonial Metals Group. Check him out. Check his team out. You will not go wrong. I mean, you will go super right. Not right wing, but proper, like good right. And 800-805-4034. Paul, we'll see you again, I guess, next week, right? You'll be back the next same bat time.
Same time, same channel.
Yeah. So for you all to do, we're going to have Sean Parnell on tomorrow. Sean's going to join us to talk about his experience. He was at the Butler rally. He was shot at, and he's been in combat and shot at both places. He's no Tim Walsh, just saying. And we're going to go through and talk about that in detail. And next week, you guys have been talking about Agenda 2030. We're going to have Nancy Quattro come on. Nancy is someone who studies that, right, Chris?
Yeah, we actually, Cherie does too. We all study this, so we're good. We should talk about that more often, because all these whiny leftists are yelling.
People want to hear about
2025. That's not even real. It's Agenda 2030 that's real.
Yeah, that's right. And so, Karen, again, thank you for being here. Always, we love you.
And Tuesday I'll be back live. Tuesday.
Yeah, and we love.
I'll be in the chat before that.
You are the
and we love you helping guide us, giving the spiritual guidance. Since I'm a druid, I don't know these things. No, I'm just joking. It's a joke.
I'm just lost.
I'm serious. I have my Catholic friends always get upset when I say that. Well, you don't really mean that, do you? It really gives people the wrong impression.
They're being racist against
druids. That's right. That's right. Are you a druidite? So anyway, folks, it's been fun. We love you, Patriots. We'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you for being here, Paul, Karen, and Chris.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Karen.
Take care, folks.
Bye.
God bless.